in service of Democratic politicians called J.D. Vance weird. Before you know it, people at your backyard party who don't take CNN as gospel start believing that J.D. Vance is weird, because it's like it sets the tone, the narrative, the direction, the course of the river, and everything else floats along. And I think that's still the power of CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS. I think that's still the power that they have. They don't have ratings. They don't have credibility and trust, but they still have, I guess, because of legacy, the ability to set the tone of the national conversation.
Yeah, and one other point, and I think we have a mailbag question about us. I don't want to go too deep into it yet, but the legacy media, we'll just call them left wing at this point. They are. Most people really can't deny it. CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, CBS, ABC, et cetera, they're all in unison. They are spreading the exact same message. That's not the case in conservative media anymore. It's very fragmented. The big reason is there's not a clear face of conservative media anymore. But you have about 4 different groups all saying something different. And I think it's created some confusion, not just among voters, but I think GOP lawmakers, some people telling them, hey, you're doing everything right, and others saying you're doing everything wrong. I think the unity of the legacy media is far stronger than the conservative media at this point.
All right, we're here with Outkick columnist Bobby Burack, who's going to stick around as... Coming up, we will dive into a question and answer session, a mailbag with you, the Willisha, next on The Will Cain Show. AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested, so buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber 8x8 and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Cain. That's oracle.com/CAIN. Oracle.com/Cain. Fellas, look, your love life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have time to go to a doctor's office to get treatment for ED. Through HIMS, though, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. HIMS is changing men's healthcare by providing access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. Now, that speaks to me. Ease, a few clicks. HIMS provides, with that, access to a bunch of doctors trusted for ED treatments. That'll give you stuff like chewable mints, proven treatments like Viagra or Cialis, or generics, 95% cheaper. It's a simple process. It's 100% online. No doctor's visit. Just answer a few questions on their site, and a provider will determine the right treatment. If prescribed, the medication then ships directly for free. No insurance. None needed. You just pay one low price for your treatments, online visits, ongoing shipments, and provider messaging. HIMS has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, so if ED is getting you down, it's time for you to find the option that works for you, gets you up. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/Will Cain. That's where we'll both go to learn more about always being ready for that call to action. That's HIMS.com/Will Cain for your personalized ED treatment options. HIMS.com/WILLCAIN. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Prices vary based on product and subscription plan. A conversation with you, the Willisha. Coming up here on the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, on the Fox News Facebook page, always on demand at Apple or Spotify. Just hit subscribe. We're still hanging out with Outkick.com columnist Bobby Burack here on the Will Cain Show. We also have the boys in the crew. We have Tinfoil Pat, Young Establishment James, and two-a-days Dan. Is Bobby's going to take us through his mailbag, some questions from the audience, some questions from the militia. Take it away, Bobby.
Yeah, great questions as always. Always appreciate you sending them in once a month. So we start with Brian from North Carolina. How would you guys describe the current state of the election in terms of a football game, i.e., what quarter, who is winning, and by how many points? That's pretty fun.
We're in the third quarter, I feel like. I think we're in the third quarter. We're past
Well, I think
halftime.
it's
we've got
beginning
3
of
months
the
to
fourth.
go.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're in the fourth quarter yet.
Okay.
I
It
agree.
feels like there's huge, crucial moments yet to come. I will say this. What was the score of Patriots Falcons? And what was it? It was 28-3. But how late was it 28-3 in that Super Bowl, James?
That was, I believe, third quarter with about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. So you're at the point, I think, where you're cognizant of the amount of time that's left, but there's still a couple big drives to happen.
So Falcons were up 28-3 with only 2.5 minutes left in the third quarter.
Oh, I made so much
I'm
money.
going to tell you, if Trump loses this election, it's going to feel like that Super Bowl. I'm telling you right now. I mean,
Big time.
after the assassination attempt, it was 28-3. I mean, up like that. I think we're in the third quarter. I think Kamala has started to show some momentum. I think that there is a lot of game left to play, but I think that's the analogy right now. Mid-third quarter, big lead from Trump, but you can feel something happening here. The game is not exactly like we thought it was going to go.
So I'm going to look at it a bit differently. I agree. Trump was up big at halftime, 3-possession lead. Right now, at the end of the third, heading in the fourth, I'll say Kamala's up in one of those games where when you score a touchdown, the one team's up by 1, the other one's up by 2, where it's not quite a field goal game. So I'll say Kamala's up by about 1-2 points, but Trump can easily march down the field and get a field goal or a touchdown and take the lead immediately if he needs to.
No, this has that feel of a game to me, Dan. Dan, this has a feel of a game to me. It's not a seesaw back and forth game. It hasn't been. It's one where your team is winning the entire game, and yet it doesn't feel good. There's something wrong, and clearly momentum has shifted. And it's one of those where you start feeling like, hey, if defense doesn't step up and get a stop here, then we may still be up by 10, but that 10 is all of a sudden nothing anymore. And I don't know. That's how I feel about this game. By the way, they benched their starting quarterback at halftime. They brought in the backup, and everything's different than from the first half.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's kind of like she joined the game like halfway through or something like that, or halfway through the second quarter. It's a little different.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about something that's a bit personal to me, which I don't like talking about. The Lions are up by 17 points at halftime in the NFC Championship game, right? And everybody said the only way they lose this game is if they do what the Lions do, which is self-destruct. I wonder if Donald Trump's going for too many fourth downs. Maybe instead of running it up the middle, he's throwing screen passes and getting hit behind the line. He reminds me a bit of Dan Campbell here, where he's too loose and he's not holding on to his lead or playing this conservatively. So I'm not liking him.
Saying. It's like he's playing like he's down, and you're like, hey, you're not down, you're up. Same thing with the Falcons Patriots. Like, you don't have to keep throwing the ball. Run the ball and run the clock out. Don't go for it on fourth downs like the Lions. You're not down, you're up. But because you do that, you keep giving them extra opportunities that they didn't earn. It does now put you on. Now you're on your heels, even though you're still up on the scoreboard.
Was Joe Biden Mike McCarthy?
Wow.
No.
As a Packer fan, I take offense.
Okay. I just thought I would ask. Not a mailbag question. That's a question for me. James, want to weigh in at all?
But I got something. Isn't it kind of like, when you play someone that's worse than you play down to that level a little bit? So it could be a little bit of that, You're not playing the highest talent, so you're not putting out your best work. You know what I'm saying? So he's playing down a little bit too.
I agree.
That.
It's a good analogy. All right, question number 2. we talked about it a little bit in the previous segment. Hey guys, how does not having Rush Limbaugh for the first time since the 90s affect the election, particularly for the GOP? That comes from Sarah in Texas.
Rush Limbaugh. You know, you and I, Bobby, a few months ago did a Mount Rushmore of conservative media, and there was no doubt about it that Rush Limbaugh was on the Mount Rushmore. He's probably the first round draft pick, right? He's the first one you'd carve into stone. But I got to be honest, I did not grow up listening to Rush, so I don't have the ability to project him into this cycle. I don't like what role would he be playing. I don't really have that ability. You know, you said it in our show a little bit earlier. There's no dominant voice in conservative media, and I think that's true. So where in the past maybe Tucker Carlson dominated in one election cycle, or Bill O'Reilly in a few, there really isn't one voice that is setting the direction of conservative media. It's Donald Trump. He is the voice, right? Like more than any media figure, and he is a media figure with his own outlets. So, I don't know what role Rush would have played in this election that he played in the past.
Well, so I think what Rush did, and Donald Trump actually admitted this on a few occasions, Rush really set the agenda for not only conservative media, but the GOP. He was very influential. He talked to a lot of lawmakers and Republican presidents on the phone. He'd advise them. It's been well reported. I don't know to what degree. But here's what's really happened since Rush passed away. The media has become even more fragmented. So, for example, he dominated the media, conservative media, from 12 to 3. Well, what's happening now in just the 12 a.m. hour? It's broken down into all these different groups. This show, Clay and Buck, Dan Bongino, Dana Loesch, and all 5 of you have very different messages, and compared to Rush, who just had that one message. So I think people are getting perspective from you, from Clay, from Bongino, and it's all very different. I think lawmakers see that, Trump campaign sees that. So there's some confusion about what's actually working because everybody's not just following in the lead of Rush. Now, I will say, I don't know that Rush had as much impact on the last election. Tucker Carlson was clearly that guy 4 years ago. So I think it's less about Rush than it is that person who sets the agenda for conservative media. I mean, just look at it like this. What you're hearing from Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Mark Levin, Glenn Beck, Pete Hegseth, Will Cain, Clay Travis, it's all pretty different. You're not getting that on the other side. Rachel Maddow, Jake Tapper, they all sound exactly the same right now. And I think that helps Kamala Harris.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Really?
Well, like I know almost everybody you just named in conservative media. Yeah. Like, I don't know. When I think of all those people, I don't think, oh, we're all real different and have profound disagreements. We're different stylistically. We're different tonally. Maybe we're different even like personalities, you know? But like, I mean, there is some diversity within conservative media. And it's often about, do you think, you know, it's like, do you attack? Do you counterpunch? But almost everybody I know in conservative media has a set of principles that they adhere to or they believe in at a pretty deep level, you know. And I don't want to like belabor them, but like it's constitutional thought. It's a belief in individual freedom and negative rights. It's a belief in the value of tradition. For varying degrees, it's a reverence for the role of faith in one's life. And I don't think there's a huge degree of variance. And by the way, I don't think there needs to be one voice setting the agenda. I'm not sure that's necessary or a good thing. It's on the left, there is no one dominant voice. There's just a monolith of a entirety of an industry who all says the same thing in the same way. In I don't know, like we've talked about on numerous occasions, whether or not it's pandemic of the unvaccinated or saving democracy, it's just like a a cultish chant